Hi guys, happy Friday. So I'm hopping on to give a little recap of this week's energies because this has been an incredibly busy week. There's been something going on every single day and it will continue to do so over the weekend. And these energies are preparing us for this upcoming full moon in Capricorn that will take place on Monday, July 3rd. But I'm preparing in another video on this theme, so I'm not going to dive into this particularly, but I want to more talk about what's been going on in this week. And actually today for you guys in US and that side of the world across Atlantic, Neptune is stationed in retrograde and it will remain retrograde until December 6th. So quite a long time for Neptune to be doing a good job of dissolving everything of the past that lost the meaning for us. For the rest of us in Europe and also you guys in Asia, Australia, New Zealand and that side of the world, Neptune will be stationed in retrograde on Saturday, July 1st. So let's just dive in, shall we? Because there's been a lot of repeating theme. Actually, all the energies are really working together to support us towards the same goal. So we started week on Monday. Mercury moved into the sign of Cancer and Mars made a square to Uranus. And this is interesting because at the end of the week on Sunday, Venus will make a square to Uranus. And of course, this is happening between the signs of Leo and Taurus. So this is all about us wanting to go ahead and creatively self-actualize, follow our sense of destiny, follow our path towards fulfillment and life of joy and fulfillment of our desires, what our inner child wants to do, what is telling us to do, because everybody can relate that if we working too hard and if we ignoring that little voice that's inside of us, we get cranky and we don't have much joy in life. So this is our Leo, our inner child kicking a fast. So at the beginning of the week, we had Mars making a square to Uranus, and this is a first quarter square, so there is a need for taking an action. And as we know, Mars has been going through the sign of Leo for a while and he wants to go after its dreams, follow its destiny. And now Venus has joined Mars there as well. There is no exact conjunction happening. The exact conjunction between Mars and Venus will happen next year in February, but they are in a degree conjunction, so they are of course influencing each other. And as I mentioned, the week will close with Venus making a square to Uranus, and this once again is a first quarter square that requires us to take action. And we all know that if we don't trust ourselves, and also first and foremost, if we don't know what our needs and desires are, if we can't identify them, if we don't actually know what matters to us, because there is such a deep conditioning from our environment, then we don't even know what is our destiny. We don't know what is our purpose. So this is where it all begins, and that's why we have Jupiter transiting through the sign of Taurus for a year until May next year. And this is to help us to identify what are the truth of the past that no longer serve us and that are not supporting us on our path. Maybe our needs are not being met anymore because of what we believed about ourselves. And that's why this square that started and it's going to end the week, that's exactly what it's talking about, that we need to trust ourselves, we need to reconnect to ourselves, and we need to know ourselves better. So for this upcoming year, we are studying ourselves because Jupiter is our perception of reality, but it's also the teacher. So this is a year where we really profoundly learning about ourselves, our needs, our values, because if we don't know what they are, then how are we going to make it happen? How are we going to self-actualize? How are we going to break free if we don't know what we're fighting for? So that's why the week has begun with this aspect, and it's going to also end with this aspect to remind us of these energies, and is very much relating to the energies that we has been experiencing throughout the entire week, which was all this water activation. We have this groundwater trine that has become activated actually from the moment Sun entered the sign of Cancer, because it was already within the degree trine with both Saturn in Pisces, currently retrograde, and also the south node in sign of Scorpio, just about, because the nodes will be moving next month into the sign of Aries and Libra. So anyway, this groundwater trine is completely in alignment with us being in a Cancer season, and this Cancer season is all about feeling everything very deeply. And as Mercury entered the sign of Cancer on Monday, this is actually telling us that this month, until 23rd of July, when the sun will move into the sign of Leo, we are not really thinking logically. I mean, Mercury is going to move into Leo sooner. It's going to do so on July 11th. But now, at least for these 2 weeks, we are thinking through our emotions. Maybe our logical mind is not the first thing we go to, because everything is so deep, like everything is so profound. All the feelings are being stirred up and coming to the surface. And I don't know about you guys, but definitely there's been a lot of triggers for me, made me go back into the past and relive a lot of things and actually ask myself questions. Why is this triggering me? What is it that it's reminding me of? Because as I mentioned in my previous videos, the thing that actually are getting triggered is not what's happening now. This is just the activation of that, but they are reminding us of something that happened long time ago. Most of the time in a childhood, when we didn't have the tools and we weren't in a position when we could actually resolve these things that happened, this trauma. And also because the South Node is in a Scorpio, is actually even our past lifetimes, because we came here to resolve that which didn't got resolved in a past life. So we are just continuing the cycle, and we are facing that which is making us feel afraid and disempowered in order to take our power back. And this is the story of Pluto squaring the nodes the entire year, as I keep mentioning. And the resolution node is and is going to continue to be so the South Node. Currently the South Node is in Scorpio, so it's ruled by Pluto, but as of next month it's going to move into the sign of Libra, so it will be it will be ruled by Venus, and Venus currently is the ruler of the North Node in Taurus. So these 18 months was encouraging us to deeply connect with ourselves and to understand ourselves better, because then when Venus will move into the South Node, it will help us to understand that now that we know ourselves better, why our relationship are not working. So what it is that is not being met, like with regards to our needs, what is not being met in our relationships. But I don't really want to go too deep into this theme, because this is relating to the nodal shift that is happening next month, and I want to make a video about that separately. But because the week started with Mars squaring Uranus, and Mars is actually the traditional ruler of Scorpio, so you could say it's traditional ruler of the South Node, and the week will finish with Venus squaring Uranus, and Uranus is all about Aquarian age. It's all about liberation, and it's all about sovereignty and being able to live authentic life that is in alignment with what we really desire and what kind of life we want to live. And Venus currently, as I mentioned, is the ruler of the North Node. She will become the ruler of the South Node as of next month. So Venus plays a very important role, and that's why we are paying attention to what Venus is doing, because she's very, very prominent. And also because it's a personal planet, we can feel Venus very deeply, because it's our relationship to ourselves and everyone else around us, because everything in this reality is relational. We came here to experience relationships. So anyway, guys, so we started the week with Mercury moving into the sign of Cancer. So that's when the switch happened. Suddenly we stopped thinking logically, and we are probably being very emotional, and we feeling everything very deeply. And actually the day after, Mercury made a sextile to the North Node. So this is supporting us in this process of embodying our destiny, our desires, needs, and our sense of who we are. Because now we're feeling into it, we are not trying to figure it out logically, because our brain is not going to give us the answer, because the brain is the ego, is the ego self, so it can only give us answer based on our previous experience. But our brain, as much as it's a beautiful instrument and very powerful, it doesn't know everything. So this is where the intuition comes in, the Cancer, the connection to yourself through emotions, through your gut, right? Your instincts. So anyway, guys, as soon as Mercury moved into the sign of Cancer, it made the sextile to North Node and trine to South Node. And this is actually the same thing that happened as soon as Sun entered the sign of Cancer last week. So this was the point of activation for the groundwater trine, which I already spoke about in my previous video on YouTube. And this is to help us heal the past, because this groundwater trine that was initially activated by Sun entering the sign of Cancer was between Sun in Cancer, the South Node in Scorpio, which is the resolution to Pluto square in the nodes, and also the Saturn currently retrograde in a sign of Pisces. And Saturn in Pisces is going to be there for another almost 3 years until 2026. And it's helping us to dissolve everything that lost a meaning throughout this process of us being alive. And we had all these experiences because Saturn represents our emotional maturity and also is our structure of our reality, the definition of reality. And as it's been going through the sign of Aquarius, we started understanding what is outdated in our life. So this was throughout the 2020 to 2020, 2023. So these are the years where we started understanding that this no longer has a meaning for us. It's outdated. It's making me feel disempowered. And now Saturn is in a sign of Pisces, so it's giving us this opportunity to let go of that and to call the aspects of ourselves which we lost in a process of living in this world where we are very deeply conditioned by what everybody else is telling us. So now Saturn is giving us the opportunity to call these aspects of ourselves back to become a whole again, so we can start this new cycle. So this is part of the groundwater trine, and the groundwater trine is between water signs, and water signs are all about emotions and intuition. So this logic is not gonna work here. So Mercury, actually just before it moved into the sign of Cancer, it made the square to Neptune, which I mentioned last week. And this is telling us that, well, logic is not going to help you to identify what it is that needs to dissolve, because it's through emotions, it's through our triggers. And that's why I'm sure, I don't know about you guys, but everybody I'm talking to, it's getting triggered, and the past is coming to the surface, and there are a lot of memories resurfacing, reminding us of our childhood, our upbringing, our families, because that's Cancer. Where did we come from? What is our line, family line? Where did the condition begin? Because it's the age 0 to 7 when the program is installed in us, and then we just operate on that, like what has been installed when we were children, and then the rest of our lives we have to decondition ourselves in order to figure out who we actually are, not who we were being projected onto believe that we are, by others, by our society and culture. So anyway, so this was the first positive aspect that happened this week, and that was, as I mentioned, the sextile between Mercury and the North Node, the ruler of which is Venus, and Venus is going to square Uranus. So this is all supporting us in the same story. And then actually following, we had Sun making the exact trine to Saturn. And this happened for some of us on Wednesday, depending where you are in the world, and some of us on Thursday morning. And this is again part of this groundwater trine, even though Sun already was in a trine with Saturn last week, as soon as it entered Cancer, because Saturn is now retrograde, the exact trine actually took place this week. And this again, Saturn being in Pisces, is dissolving the past, because the past has gone to the end of its cycle. So there are things that was part of our reality, that were part of our reality, that we don't want to take into future with us, because we learned the lesson. It's like, thank you very much. Thank you for showing me the lesson. Thank you for teaching me. But now it's time for me to move forward, to grow out of this lesson, because I already integrated that. So that's what Saturn is doing. And now Sun going through the sign of Cancer is literally highlighting, is like shining the torch onto everything to do with our families, our childhood, our upbringing, our past, because Cancer is the past, is the memories. Cancer is the memories. So it's kind of bringing to the surface the memories of the past, which one of those we want to keep and which ones we don't. And the way we're going to figure it out is by feeling into things, by being triggered. And when we are being triggered, let's observe, because the emotions are messengers. They don't come here to punish us. Every emotion is good emotions. And that's why when somebody tells you, oh, don't be so upset, or hey, get over it, or what is it, like, crank up some smile, or when people tell you like, hey, why are you being so miserable? Well, maybe you have reason for it. And there is an emotion that wants to be acknowledged, because every emotion is valid. And that's why when somebody tells us like, yeah, you shouldn't be feeling that way, well, how somebody else can know what you should be feeling? Every emotion that is present in your reality is valid, and is bringing a message, and is trying to tell you something. And I don't know, I can only speak from my own personal experience, but when I sit with my emotions and I feel into it, and I try to identify what are they trying to tell me, where did this come from, why am I feeling this way, eventually I feel better. Like, especially if I have a good cry, because water, right, Cancer, triggers our emotions, and that brings a lot of things to the surface. And then when we feel into it, when the water gets flowing, even through tears or anything, actually taking a bath helps. It helps us to, because water, we can imprint water, right? Like, this is like well known now that we can imprint the water. So when we are surrounded, and I mean, we are made of water 70%, and we live on a planet that is made majority of it is water as well. I believe it's also 70% of the surface of the planet is covered by water. So we are literally ruled by water. Just look at the sun. The sun is controlling the oceans, all the water. And if this, sorry, not the sun, the moon is controlling the oceans. And if moon can move such a huge body as the oceans and the seas on our planet, that imagine what is it doing to your body. So that's why, now sun going through the sign of Cancer, and also the moon is moving very fast. The moon is traveling throughout the entire zodiac in 28 days, 28 and a half days. So it usually stays in one sign for 2 days. So throughout this period, while sun is in the sign of Cancer, the moon is going to touch everything in your zodiac, in everything in your chart, and it's gonna remind you like, oh, okay, is it this aspect of my life that I maybe need to pay attention to, or that aspect, or which one, which area of my life is it? So that's why now sun is going through the sign of Cancer. So it's like, okay, well, this is the time of the year when I need to feel into things, when I need to connect to myself really emotionally, because Cancer is like really, really personal. It's like our ego identity. It's who we are, how we identify ourselves. So now moon going through the entire zodiac and going from sign to sign, in your chart, it's going from house to house, is telling you like, okay, well, which area is it? Is it our relationship? Is it our work? Is it my daily routine? Is it my resources, my relationship to my money, or what is it? So that's what moon is doing for us throughout these 28 days. And then, of course, we're going to have the full moon in Capricorn, and sun is in the sign of Cancer. So everything is connected, right? So anyway, so we had this trine going on, the Sun-Saturn trine. And this is still part of this grand water trine. And now, of course, Mercury is part of it, because Mercury is in a sign of Cancer. And then we had the trine between Venus and Chiron, and this is again a reminder of the trine that happened a week ago between Mars and Chiron, because Mars is currently the ruler of Chiron. And this trine is telling us about where we're moving into, because all these air and fire signs are the activation to what we want to move into. But first we need to resolve the past. So all this water energy and the earth energy, now Pluto being back in the earth sign, in the sign of Capricorn, this is again grounding, feeling into things, connecting with ourselves, receptive energy, yin energy. And then when we had Pluto in the sign of Aquarius for 5 minutes, all the positive aspects between Pluto and other planets were through either the fire signs or the air signs. So we know this is what we're moving into, but in order to get there, we first need to resolve the past. Because the past is gonna follow us wherever we go. It's like, when you travel and they say to you like, well, wherever you go, you're gonna take yourself with you, and that's Cancer. You're taking yourself with you. So that's why in order to be able to create a different story, because we are all storytellers, we need to resolve the past, because otherwise the past is gonna follow us. As we know, all these triggers, they are the story of the past. And that's why they're still triggering us. And that's why there is this square between Mars and Uranus and Venus and Uranus. Because it's the story of the past. What is the story of the past? Why we can't move forward? Mars, why we can't move forward? Why we can't have this new beginning? Because there is still this unresolved trauma. Uranus is the trauma that's frozen in time that we have to look at. And now everything that's happening in Cancer is making a sextile to Uranus. So that's fantastic, because it's helping us to resolve that. And also everything that's happening in Pisces. So we have Saturn there and Neptune there. So we know that this North Node in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus, now Jupiter in Taurus, which is this new story that we're creating, this new truth, because Taurus is ourselves. And now Jupiter is there. So Jupiter is really, really helping us to identify what is the old story that I'm telling myself about myself and my life, my reality, And what is the new story that I want to start telling myself in order to break free? You know, this Uranus, Aquarian age. We know Uranus is going to be the ruler of Pluto for 20 years. So this is crazy, guys. So that's why literally this entire week, all these aspects, and I haven't even finished naming them all. So we already at the trine between Venus and Cancer, Venus and Cancer, Venus and Chiron. And Chiron is in the sign of Aries. And Chiron is the wounded healer. And this is something I also already talked about, is the collective wounding, this insecurity to go into the unknown. Because Aries doesn't have a previous experience, it's the baby energy. It's this brand new energy when you're trying something for the very first time. Your first time at work, your first kiss, your first anything. There is an insecurity connected to that because we haven't done it before. But it doesn't mean we can be good at it. It just means that, you know, we need some practice, right? And now with this Chiron going through the sign of Aries is saying that, well, it's okay, you know, it's okay to move forward because like, hello, you know, we know that this past caused us the wounding. So let's try something different here. So all we need to do is just be brave to try to step into this unknown territory that we haven't walked through before. And now Mars made a trine to Chiron and Venus made a trine to Chiron. So this is supporting us on this path. And this is the path we're heading into, you know, this Pluto and all the positive aspect to Pluto that happened when Pluto was in Aquarius. But we know that we're not ready for that yet. And that's why there is the square between Mars and Uranus and Venus and Uranus, and it's the first quarter square, which said it needs us to take an action. So what action we need to take, what do we need to resolve in order for us to be able to channel this energy, to activate this energy, this Leo energy, which is about creative self-actualization. Like if you could do anything you want and it would make you money and help you to survive, what would you do? You know, like if anything that you want to do would make you money, what is that you would want to do, right? Because Leo, like, you know, when you ask a little child, like, hey, what do you like? They give you answers straight away. They don't have to think about it. They just know because they're children. They don't have to filter it and go through like, oh, is this an acceptable answer? Or when you ask a little kid, this is the best one. You know, when you were a child and they ask you, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? And we all were like, oh, I want to be a cosmonaut. And for girls, like, I don't know, I want to be a princess. Or something like air hostess, right? And it was all these things that we like, you know, inspired us, made us feel excited. And now how many of you guys can say like, oh, I feel excited and passionate to go to my work. And I mean, we spend majority of the time at work, you know, majority of the time working. And then if that thing makes us feel like gives us a sense of dread and doesn't make us feel excited, then like, what's the point? You know, you spend in whole majority of your life doing this thing. And this is exactly what these energies are describing to us, are saying like, well, you know, you want to be free and you want to have this great life, you know, when we're doing what we love, but do we believe we can do it? You know, this Jupiter in Taurus, what do you believe? What do you believe about yourself and about your ability to make money? And what do you believe that, you know, what is your relationship to yourself? Like, what do you believe about yourself, about your sense of self-worth? So this Jupiter, he's helping us to figure it out. This entire year is going to be in Taurus. And eventually it's going to conjunct Uranus, you know, next year in April. And by that time, I really hope we figure it out because, oh my gosh, you know, when Jupiter is going to conjunct Uranus, it's going to close the whole chapter on what we believed before. And it's like open this new chapter like, hey guys, okay, from now onwards, we are believing something different because we enter in the Aquarian age and it requires the shift of paradigm shift, the change of perceiving reality, right? We need to do it in a different way because, as I mentioned many times before, whatever you believe, you're going to find the proof for it. So if we want to create this different life for ourselves, we cannot believe the same old things that creating the life we live in now. So anyway, so this is kind of sidetracking because this is what got me into from the Chiron being trine by Venus into this story about Uranus being ruled by Venus at the moment because Venus is the ruler of Taurus. So everything is connected. That's what I keep always saying. Everything is connected and everything is happening simultaneously. So again, going back to this water activity that's going on there, we have Neptune stationed in retrograde today. Well, for you guys in US, for us it's going to happen tomorrow morning on Saturday, July 1st. But what this means? So what this means when Neptune goes retrograde in Pisces? Well, we can think back what was going on last year because Neptune was already in Pisces doing retrograde, but at the time things were different in the skies. And now this Neptune going retrograde in Pisces is again another energy of, okay, let me look back. Let me look back into the past, what no longer holds a meaning for me, and why. Why does this doesn't make me feel inspired anymore? And also, it's Pisces, is this connection to your higher self, is the spirituality. From one perspective, from more the material perspective, Pisces represents the end of the line, the end of the cycle. Like, okay, I had the entire experience of these 11 houses, and now I got to the point where things just been learned, right? So this is a lesson that I learned now. I don't need it anymore. It doesn't have a meaning for me anymore because I embodied this lesson. It's like when you start reading a book and you get to the last page, you've embodied the story. You know what the story is about. So it's like the sadness, like, oh, I finished. Like, it's great because I know what the story is, but I finished now. It's like, well, I kind of lost inspiration to read this book because I already know the story. So this is what the Neptune energy represents, and now Neptune is going retrograde, so it's making us to go backwards again, metaphorically, because the planet isn't really going backwards. It's just how we perceive it from planet Earth. So this is what is helping us to do. It's like, okay, well, let me go over things that before had a meaning for me, like what I started in the past, and now let me see what out of this now I embodied the experience. I don't need to read this book again, not anytime soon anyway, because now I know what it's about. So this is what is Neptune. And actually, when Neptune goes stations retrograde, it's going to make sextile to Pluto. There is a sextile between Pluto and Neptune, and this is the crescent phase. This is the Taurus phase. So this is the feeling into it, the embodying things, like, okay, I gathered, some inspiration there, I feel that there is some instinct to do something, like this is something within me, like this Aries, I have this instinctual desire for something. And now this Neptune is going like, well, but I'm a little bit confused because I'm not sure, is this really what I want? Does this really have a meaning for me? Does this support me on this path that I want to walk, that I want to kind of go chasing after? Because let me think. Okay, so Neptune is opposition with Virgo. So yeah, there is in conjunction between Pisces and Leo. So we don't know what is our purpose, like, because this thing that we've already integrated, it's like, okay, it lost the purpose now because like I've done it, I've read the book. There is no purpose for me to read it again. So this is the story of our life. Your story, your life is your book. So now we have to kind of feel, because Pisces, and intuitively connect with our higher self, whether it's through meditation or again spending time near water or dancing, singing. I mean, dance is more Leo, but singing, playing instruments, like connecting to these things that are like helping us to transcend this reality. Anything that takes you somewhere else. Of course, there is, all sorts of things that you can take for that as well. But I'm, talking more about the spiritual integration of this energy. But yeah, there are different ways, of course, to like dissociate from this reality. So anyway, so this Neptune going retrograde until the end of the year, until December, it's actually telling us that, okay, well, let's go back. Let's go over what happened in the past, and let me feel into what no longer holds a meaning, because I came to the end of the road with these things. And as I said, it's making sextile to Pluto. And Pluto is in Capricorn, retrograde, is dissolving this story since 2008. Like, okay, what was my reality? What was the structure of my reality, this definition of my matrix since 2008, which now I don't resonate with anymore, This is it. And now Pluto came back for the last, it's going to go back into Capricorn for a very, very, very short while next year, but this is going to be the longest retrograde back in Capricorn until it moves into Aquarius next January. So Pluto in Capricorn is now like going over the things of the past. And I mean, you can just think about what was going on for you this year between March and June, beginning of June. And I'm sure you felt this new energy, this Pluto in Aquarius. This was this new energy streaming through, giving us like an idea like, okay, well, there is something new coming. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I feel excited because it's something new. And now we've gone backwards. So for many of us, myself included, there are all these old themes coming to the surface. And it's again this like, oh, I thought I was done with this, but apparently not. There is still something I need to do, something I need to resolve from the past that is holding me back, that is making me stuck, that is making me restricted. And then this Neptune is going to support this process, because Neptune's going to go, okay, well, let me show you what doesn't make you feel inspired anymore, what doesn't hold a meaning. Like if there is no inspiration, if there is no desire, then okay, well, this is not it then. So that's what Neptune's gonna help us to do. And as I said, it's gonna be in retrograde mode until December. So we'll have quite a long time to figure it out. And as I said, there'll be other things going on over the time. And as I also mentioned in my previous video, we're gonna have one after another, all the planets going retrograde. So we already have Saturn and Pluto. Now Neptune is joining the party. Next month, Venus is going to join the party. And then we're going to have Uranus and Mercury and then Jupiter in September. So by September, they all, one after the other, going to go retrograde. So this is again supporting this process of Pluto being in retrograde, of this old story that just doesn't support us anymore, that is outdated. The old structure is outdated. The old story of your life is outdated. And now you have the opportunity to write a completely new script. But first we need to resolve that which is now finished. Like, okay, well, what is it? What is it? Like, maybe I need to redo this chapter so I can have the product finished that I'm actually really happy with or something, So anyway, so this is the Neptune retrograde. And then also we are going to have the sextile between Sun and Jupiter. Actually, Sun is going to be conjunct with Neptune with Mercury. Sun and Mercury are going to conjunct in sign of Cancer on Saturday. And then shortly after, they both, one after the other, are going to make a sextile to Jupiter in Taurus. So this is again supporting the same thing, we're going through the period of Cancer season, and this is helping us to reconnect with ourselves, to feel into things deeply, to acknowledge what no longer makes me feel safe and secure emotionally, what does or doesn't make me feel nurtured, and what doesn't make me feel at home, which first and foremost has to be your own body, your own presence. Like, do you feel happy at home with yourself? This is something that we are acknowledging right now, that there is potentiality that we can escape it, but nothing's gonna get resolved if that happens. So it's best to just resolve it one and for all, so we don't have to get these triggers in the future and again feel like, oh my god, I'm again in the same old story and I don't want this anymore. I want to move away from this. So we're going to have this Mercury Sun conjunction on Saturday, and just before that happens, it's going to be what we call Kazemi, and actually right after that happens. So when a planet is only a few minutes away from the Sun, it's called Kazemi, and this is like the planet sitting in the lap of the Sun, so it's like completely renewed, it's like it's been rebirthed. So the Sun is going through the sign of Cancer. It's highlighting to us these Cancer themes. And now Mercury, which is like normally our logical mind, our communication skills, but now it's going through Cancer. So it's all about this feeling into things. And it's going to be renewed through Sun. So that's going to be like a rebirth. So we're going to start creating a new story. We're going to start creating new tools. How we're going to identify things. Like perhaps we're going to have more downloads or something. So anyway, so this is happening on Saturday, and then let me check my notes because I have it all written down. So there's so many aspects happening this week. It's just crazy. So yeah, so actually, so today, the Friday, when Neptune stations retrograde, we have Mercury trine in Saturn. So this is again the same story with the groundwater trine. On Saturday, we'll have this conjunction between Mercury and Sun, and then sextile between Mercury and Jupiter and Sun and Jupiter, which again, this how we feel into things and how we are reconnecting with ourselves emotionally is also helping us to understand this story, this old story we have when it comes to ourselves, our needs and values, and is this still our truth or not? So this sextile, this energy of Cancer, is supporting Jupiter in his process of creating this new perception of reality. But first we have to acknowledge what is the story, like what is this thing that, these lies that we keep telling ourselves, because there is all this Neptunian energy in in action as well. So it's like, is this what we believe? Is this actually truth? And that's what we are, identifying right now. But we are not identifying through our logical mind, because we didn't get very far with that, with the square to Neptune, Mercury square to Neptune in Gemini just before it moved into Cancer. So it's like, okay, well, I tried to figure it out logically, but I got only this far. So in order to actually completely understand the past, let me go and feel into it. Let me make a friend with Cancer. And then on Sunday, as I mentioned, we are going to have this Venus square Uranus, which is the energy that I already mentioned about if we want to liberate ourselves and move into the future, we need to understand ourselves. We need to know our needs, values, and this story, this Jupiter story, this truth, so-called truth, this story that we told ourselves about who I am. And then on Monday, we're going to have the full moon in Capricorn. And that's going to be happening in opposition with Mercury and trine in Jupiter. So again, this is going to be an interesting process of maybe having more understanding of something that started last year in December, and now it's coming into the point of illumination, and then we can integrate the understanding. So what was happening for you in Capricorn season last December, and what did we learn? What did we learn about ourselves? Again, what is our definition of reality? Again, it's making a trine to Jupiter. So what is the story? Again, what is the story? Who is the authority in my life? Who has the power to make the change? Is it me or is it someone else? Do I still give my power away to someone else, saying that, oh yeah, it's because this person did this to me, that person, that government? But at the end of the day, we need to embody our own authority, because you are the one that is creating your reality. And that's why the 9th house is followed by the 10th house, because whatever you believe creates your reality. Because the 9th house is the house of belief system, and the 10th house is the reality, the structure of our reality. So anyway, guys, so to wrap all this up, because it's a lot of terms, it's a lot of astrology jargon, but I'm sure that you can see what's going on here we are living each our own story that we are creating for ourselves. We are creating our own reality. So what is your story? And all these aspects that are happening this week are helping us to understand ourselves better on an emotional level. So this is where our emotional intelligence is being engaged. It's not about our EQ, it's about our IQ. And how are we responding to these triggers, these emotions that are coming to the surface? Because I am sure there are a lot of them coming to the surface for you. I have my moon in Cancer anyway, but now I'm even more sensitive than normal. What is normal anyway? But I can definitely feel and going over things of the past, and even I book another trip to go to see my family, which is why am I going to see my family twice in the same month? But I don't know, it seemed like a good idea. It felt like a good idea. Okay, well, maybe I need to have some experience over there. I need to feel into things. And so I'm sure there is a lot of stuff being triggered that is reminding us of the past, that is reminding us of where we came from and what made us the people we are today. And then it's helping us to feel into, is this really still me? Is this still the way I identify myself? So all this feeling process through Sun and now Mercury going through the sign of Cancer is making these trines to Pisces and Scorpio, which is helping us to acknowledge what is making us disempowered, because, well, this is not me anymore. So why did I believe this? And also it's helping us to then dissolve it, with this Saturn going through the sign of Pisces in retrograde. So again, is this, going over thing of the past. Now Neptune is going retrograde, going over thing of the past when it comes to this book. Is it finished? Is this story finished? Do I still need to repeat this chapter? Do I need to learn this lesson, or do I know it already? And I'm ready for this new book. I'm ready for it, because this old story is great, but it's I know it already, right? So this is where we at. So these energies right now are supporting us in understanding what is the story that we are finishing, what is the book that is coming to its close. Because just look at your life, and this is different for everyone. So feel into what your life feels to you like today. Who are you today? What is this story that you are living at? What is this movie that you are part of? You are the co-star. You are the main star. You are the Leo. You are the center stage of your story, because the story is about you. You've created it, which, again, it takes a responsibility and emotional maturity, Saturn, to understand that yes, this is my story, I've created it. Not everybody has to agree. I know this is a triggering comment, and that's perfectly fine. This is just my perception of reality. And then, it's up to me. Okay, how am I going to create the rest of my life? What do I want this script to look like? So this water trine, grand water trine, that is still active, because as we can see, all these members of the water trine are activating each other. First is the Sun, then is the Mercury. Sun made a, trine to Saturn. Now Mercury made a trine to Saturn. Everything is happening at the same time. At the same time as Neptune goes retrograde, And this is helping us to understand the same thing. Like, okay, emotionally, do I still identify with this story? Or is this something that I want to change because I already learned this lesson and I'm done with it? I don't want to do this anymore because it lost the meaning for me. You know, I don't want to be the victim of this story anymore. I'm brave and I'm courageous to start a new story. And I know I can create it. I know I need to understand that I write the story. So this is the Jupiter in Taurus here. That do I know that I'm so powerful that I create my reality, that it all comes from me, you know, me, Taurus. I have the skills to create my story. You know, I'm that amazing. Like, we are all creators. So all these things that are happening at the same time. And as I mentioned, we're going to have Sun and Mercury conjunction in Cancer, which is super, super intuitive. So watch out, guys, what's happening for you on Saturday. What downloads, what feelings, what communication is coming through, and you might be surprised. And whatever is coming through is helping you to acknowledge this story, you know, this truth, that this truth, quote unquote, truth that you've been telling to yourself about yourself. And is this still truth or not? Jupiter in Taurus. What is my truth? What is my story? What I want to create? So anyway, but in all this process of feeling and identifying, there is something that might be coming to the surface that needs healing and integrating. Because in order for us to resolve these triggers and to let them go, to like give them a RIP, rest in peace, we need to heal them. Like, okay, thank you, messenger. You bring me this information, and now what am I going to do with it? Am I just going to ignore it? Or am I actually going to, you know, like feel it and see like, okay, what can I do with this? You know, like, okay, this triggers me. Why does it trigger me? What can I do in order for, you know, for not feel it triggered by, you know, this, whatever it is, right? So yeah, so as this, you know, quote comes around, and I've been healing it a lot. I've been talking about it a lot. We have to feel it to heal it. So if something comes to your attention, if you feel something, if something gets triggered, if you're gonna distract yourself and you're just gonna like, I don't wanna feel this, I don't wanna feel sad, I don't wanna feel angry, I don't wanna feel this, then, you know, we just miss this opportunity to understand, why am I getting triggered? What is this old story that I still believe, which is triggering me? And that we cannot heal it, because if we're just gonna sweep it under the carpet, then how we can heal it? It's just gonna get triggered all over again, you know, at some other time. So this is the story that's going on right now, and we are all part of it in a different way, because we all have our own story. And this is the opportunity for understanding these triggers, acknowledging these emotions, and healing them and integrating them once and for all. So the next time that happens, I won't get triggered, because I will go, oh yes, I understand why this is happening. I understand why I feel sensitive and vulnerable here, and when I feel sad, because when I was small, this and this happened to me. And then, you know, eventually we will be completely neutral to it, and we will be like, okay, well, that doesn't control my life anymore, and now I can move on. You know, I am not a victim of this story anymore. So this is what's going on, right? Well, I mean, this is my interpretation of what's going on, and this is preparing us for this full moon in Capricorn, so we can embody our own authority in our life. You can take the responsibility for creation of your own story, because this full moon in Capricorn is going to trine Jupiter. So yes, so do you want to be the creator of your story or not? Or you just want someone else to create it for you? It's up to you, because this is where the free will comes into place, right? So anyway, guys, this video is super long. I had a lot to say. And as I said, it's been such a busy week with aspects. So if you're feeling sensitive, if you're feeling emotional, and there are all these things coming to the surface for you, just understand that this is happening for you. This is happening for you, and it's giving you the opportunity to understand what are these messengers going to, you know, bring you as an information. And what do I want to do with it? So now I can make a different choice under all circumstances, because I'm sure we've been triggered over the same thing a million times before. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, this is reminding me of something. This is similar to what happened in the past. So, okay, I'm getting triggered here. What is the story, and why am I getting triggered? And what can I do in order to heal this wound, this unmet need, so I don't get triggered anymore? So this is the opportunity, and that's why it's trines, because they are harmonious aspects, and hopefully they're making it easier for us to feel into these emotions, so we can actually sit with them and resolve them once and for all, so we can let go of these attachments to this old story to create space for something new to come in and to create a new story, right? And that will be the story of Pluto in Aquarius, which is starting next year. So anyway, guys, this is it. This is what I got. I hope it made sense. As I said, there is too many things going on, but just feel into it. Don't think about it too hard, because as you can see, even my brain is not working fully. So yeah, just feel into it and see what is the story. What is the messenger telling you? You know, what is the message and what you're gonna do with it. So have a wonderful rest of the week. I'm sending everybody much love. And yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, because yeah, so I know that this holds a value to someone. I mean, I'm just talking to myself here, but I hope it's helpful to someone. And yeah, I'll speak to you again soon. Much love to all and have a great weekend. Bye.